Einstein defined insanity as repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting it to turn out differently. And by that definition, most of the horse world is insane. So how come? How come we do that? How come I did that? It's because we don't know what we don't know that we don't know yet. We can't. We can't know. There is simply stuff that we don't know until something changes. For example, most of us have no idea how much stress and tension we're carrying until it's gone. Most of us have no idea how much stress and tension our horses are carrying in their bodies until it's gone either. And I discovered that well-being is one of those things that we don't know that we don't know that we don't know yet. We don't even know the kind of well-being that's possible unless we get a glimpse of it from somewhere. We don't know how much blocked up energy we've got. We don't know how many stuck spots and braces we have in our bodies until they release. We either don't know or we've forgotten how athletic we can feel when our bodies are working in harmony. I recently remembered this time when I was a teenager when I was so late coming home and I was in such big trouble. And I was way out in the bush and I was still so far away from home and I was running absolutely flat out, so athletically. I remember feeling so at ease in my own body. I remember hitting a rough piece of ground and my ankle and my foot and my joints just rolling to accommodate that, rolling to keep my feet feeling so light and grounded, instantly judging where each foot should land and adjusting that in the last split second. Flying, it was like flying across the rough and rocky, sometimes rocky landscape. That kind of athleticism is so exhilarating. Can you ever remember a time like that? What's your version of a time like that? So where did that girl go for me? Where did that girl go? Well, I'm telling you that she got stuck doing the same things over and over again in the same ways without even realising what was happening because nobody ever told me any different. Nobody ever taught me how to deal with my emotions, how to deal with my nerves, how to deal with my anger and my fear. And because nobody ever taught me, I reacted to them with no understanding and I dealt with them as stress instead. I carried that stress and tension in my body and eventually that translated to little aches and pains and discomfort and restriction of movement. My body either defended or made accommodation for those and I lost the ability to carry my body with ease and joyfulness in whatever I was doing. I started walking differently and then eventually I was creaking as I got up in the morning and groaning when I had to kneel under the desk to do the computer plug. And my riding too, that was full of the tensions and braces that were put in there way back at the beginning from the way that I learned to ride. It's learning how to be good with my horses that has spilled over into the rest of my life and made it possible to have the sense of well-being that is flooding through me even as I write and record this for you. And I don't believe we can have this sense of well-being with a horse unless our horse has this sense of well-being as well. Our connection to them, our perfectly normal everyday way that ordinary people experience our connection to others would get in the way of us feeling really, really good unless our horse is feeling really, really good too. And that is what we are so good at with Fast Track to Brilliant Riding, helping you to systematically help your horse to well-being, mentally, emotionally and physically, in such a way that you learn how you can find that feeling of well-being for yourself as well. Oh, that's big. With Cameo, you've already experienced how we deliver what we say we can. Fast Track is full of cool, practical, day-to-day stuff. It's techniques for doing this and that. Everything from being able to lead them away from their buddies happily, to beautiful liberty work, to coping with motorbikes when you're out on a ride, to learning how to lead so softly and sweetly and cooperatively, to your horse turning when you turn and stopping when you stop and flowing into a backup like pushing a toy boat through the water of a bath. What fast track can bring you above all that is the feel that really gifted horse people have. I've figured out how to teach you that feel that used to only belong to really gifted people. And with fast track, we're making that kind of feel for your horse normal. Even beginners can find that kind of feel in this program. Riding's been taught mostly the same way for centuries, and that's part of the insanity in the horse world. Because it's been done in this kind of sink or swim way, with riders bouncing around trying to stay on the horse and eventually learning how to stick up there. My own riding was full of lack of confidence and nerves, and it's fear. I believe it's fear that causes the terrible things that we as humans do to horses when we're afraid. We have completely changed that with Fast Track. We've focused on developing those feelings of well-being and enjoyment with horses and have completely turned upside down on its head and transformed the way that beginners are taught to ride, and totally transformed the way that even advanced riders can go about getting rid of those stresses and tensions and braces and resistances in our body and develop a sense of well-being and enjoyment with our horses. My riding was full of other life tensions. We have totally transformed how we deal with those too, but ever so gently with our horse work, so that a beautiful journey with our horse just automatically becomes a beautiful journey of personal growth in the rest of our life too. I am so proud of this work. And talking about the emotional stresses and tensions and falls off horses and the like, you've experienced some of that healing with Cameo. And wow, there's a heap more to come. Cameo was just a taste of the kind of healing that's possible when you work on this path with a horse and with yourself. The little and big accidents of life and the adverse effects of bearing children are mostly all fixable too, and at the very least we can minimise their effect. All of that stuff affected how I walked down the street, and it affected my riding ability, and I didn't even notice how much it affected me until it got really bad, because that feeling crappy kind of crept up on me bit by bit. And some people call that getting older, but that's clearly crap, because I can see some people being athletic into their old age and others falling apart quite young. I've made a decision that I want to be riding horses happily if I want to at 80. Here's the good news, folks. We too can be the ones who are more athletic and more comfortable into our old age, and our horses, bless them, can be the key. And even if we've already started the downhill slide, we can reverse it. Horses are very good at helping us to use our emotions effectively when we allow them to, which releases stress and tension and the physical problems that can come from those. Let's just pause on that concept for a moment. We can actually release stress and the tension in our bodies that come from that and reverse the physical damage that was caused by that in the beginning. And we can do that with our horses and our riding. It's such a gentle process. It can be such a gentle process. And how exciting is that? In our journey to become a better rider, we will become more aware of our bodies, which allows us to release the physical braces and resistances that we accidentally developed when we learn to ride. When we learn how to understand how we experience our connection to horses, the benefits of that flow out to the rest of our lives too, when we understand how we experience our connection to our family and friends. Horses can be the most amazing journey of healing and self-improvement when we allow them to be. And riding them can be our journey to healing and theirs too. We can help our horse solve their tensions and reverse their physical damage and change their coping behaviours to something that's more useful to them and more useful to us. And we do that on Fast Track too. And in fact, by helping our horses to solve their stresses and tensions and reverse their physical damage from that, we help ourselves too. And in fact, sometimes I'm not sure who's helping whom to heal. It becomes a very mutual process. I've got a heap of stories about some phenomenal healing that's happened within this program. A young working student that I've got here, Christina, has had arthritis since she was a teenager. She's in her early 30s now. Her leg was crippled, it's probably not too strong a word. When she sat in the saddle, her leg was twisted and her foot was twisted and her leg was twisted up, and it imbalanced her complete riding position. And she has step by step been releasing that arthritis that she's had since she was a teenager. Just the other weekend, she did a 19-kilometre hike down in the bush at Wilson's Prom. I don't think she did any favours going quite so far. It took her about 3 days to recover. But she did a 19-kilometre hike. She couldn't walk around the corner to the shops without pain when she arrived here. And all the work that she's done has been around the walking and ridden posture that she's done with the Fast Track program. Working on her flexibility and her braces and her stuck spots and what's behind what's going on in her body. My horse Bobby's arthritis gets better as we ride. In fact, he's insisting on riding so that he can get better. Oliver, my 18-hand warm blood, his body was so damaged. And we're watching him get better every single ride. His body's improving. And Steve, the guy who's riding Oliver for the videoing that I'm doing to add to the Fast Track program, his journey to healing, he had some chronic injuries from some really bad falls, and they're all gone now. We've got some amazing footage watching Steve release the injury from a really bad fall. So if you want all this well-being for you and your horse, then you're probably going to want Fast Track. Well, Fast Track will make it easier anyway. I've worked my butt off to make this affordable for everyone, so have a look below for the details, and I look forward to getting to know you on the program.